Introduction. The class develops what car registration tax is and its implications for fleet management. Car registration tax. What is car registration tax? Registration tax is a tax that must be paid when registering a vehicle for the first time. It applies to both new and imported vehicles and has two objectives. On the one hand, to tax the addition of new vehicles to the national vehicle fleet, and, on the other, to encourage the purchase of less polluting models. The case of Spain is discussed below as an example, which is similar in other European Union countries. To calculate the amount of tax, the level of carbon dioxide (CO2) emissions per kilometer is taken into account. The higher the emissions, the higher the percentage to be paid. In this way, the tax penalizes the most polluting vehicles and encourages the purchase of more sustainable options. Regulatory developments from Law 342007 to the WLTP cycle. Registration tax legislation has evolved over time to adapt to environmental requirements. Initially, Law 342007 established tax brackets based on CO2 emissions, using the NEDC cycle as a reference, which did not accurately reflect actual consumption. In 2017, the WLTP cycle was introduced, which is more rigorous and closer to real driving conditions. In Spain, its application was consolidated in 2021, which meant an adjustment of tax brackets and an increase in the tax burden for many vehicles. This change particularly affected cars with higher emissions, which began to be taxed more heavily. If you have a powerful or inefficient car, you have probably already noticed the impact. Current registration tax brackets. To calculate how much you have to pay in registration tax, simply consult the official CO2 emissions per kilometer for the vehicle. The current brackets are up to 120 grams kilometer, exempt from payment. From 121 to 159 grams kilometer, 4.75% of the vehicle's value is payable. From 160 to 199 grams kilometer, the percentage rises to 9.75%. From 200 grams kilometer, 14.75% is applied to the price of the vehicle. The aim of this structure is clear: to encourage the purchase of electric, hybrid, or low-emission cars and penalize those that generate more pollution. Who must pay registration tax and when? This tax only must be paid when the vehicle is first registered in Spain. It applies to both individuals and companies, whether purchasing a new car or importing a used one. If you buy the car from a Spanish dealership, they will usually take care of the paperwork and submit Form 576 to the tax agency. If you buy it abroad or from a private individual, you will have to pay the tax yourself before starting the registration process. Registration cost. The registration process is not only mandatory in order to drive legally, but also involves a series of costs that vary depending on different factors. In addition to the registration tax, you must pay administrative fees and the cost of the license plates, so it is important to calculate your budget before starting the process. Traffic tax. The price of registering a car is not fixed, as it depends on various factors, such as traffic taxes, other taxes, and the type of vehicle. The General Directorate of Traffic establishes a fixed rate for the registration of new and imported vehicles. Road tax. Road tax is a municipal tax and must be paid annually in order to drive legally in Spain. The price varies depending on the local council and the fiscal power of the vehicle, measured in fiscal horsepower. In cities such as Madrid and Barcelona, the amount can range from €60 to €200 per year, depending on the car. Some municipalities offer discounts for electric or hybrid vehicles. Cost of license plates. In addition to taxes and fees, you must purchase physical license plates. Their price varies depending on the supplier, but usually ranges from €20 to €50. Additional expenses to consider. Liability insurance. It is mandatory to take out insurance for the vehicle before driving. The price will depend on the coverage and the insurer chosen. Administrative agency. If you prefer to delegate the process, you can hire the services of an administrative agency for an additional cost of between €100 and €200. Imported cars. If the vehicle comes from abroad, you may have to pay additional costs, such as those for type approval or special technical inspections. Registration tax exemptions. There are various exemptions from registration tax, some of which are outlined below. Vehicles adapted for people with reduced mobility, including those with ramps, lifts, or other modifications. Vehicles intended for specific uses such as ambulances, fire trucks, hearses, and vehicles for people with reduced mobility. Motor vehicles considered to be taxis, auto taxis, or passenger cars under current legislation. Motor vehicles that are effectively and exclusively used for the purpose of teaching drivers in exchange for payment. Motor vehicles that are effectively and exclusively used for rental activities. Vehicles that are subject to special registration under the diplomatic registration regime. The exemption application must be submitted to the relevant tax agency. This can be done in person or via their website, where you must fill in Form 06 for exemption from registration tax and attach the documentation required by the tax authorities. Implications for fleet management. The main consequence is the cost of registering the vehicle. Below are some measures to consider. Do not pay the registration tax. To avoid paying registration tax, you must purchase electric or hybrid vehicles with emissions below 120 grams kilometer. Registration tax exemptions. Before purchasing the vehicle, you must find out if it is exempt from registration tax. You can check the exemptions at the tax agency. Registration tax procedures. Normally, the dealership where you purchase the vehicle will take care of all the paperwork to register the vehicle. If they do not, or if you import a vehicle, there are specialized agencies that can take care of all the vehicle registration paperwork. Total cost of ownership. Registration tax, fees, etc. must be included in the calculation of the cost of owning the vehicle. Vehicle purchase. Before purchasing a vehicle, compare the different models available on the market and purchase the one with the lowest registration tax if possible. Vehicle import. Imported vehicles are subject to registration tax, so it is important to know how much this will cost before importing a vehicle. In summary, registering a car is not a free or uniform process in all cases. The associated costs can represent a considerable investment, so it is advisable to find out in advance to avoid surprises and better plan the cost of ownership. Good planning will help you avoid unexpected costs. Finding out about the different brackets, possible exemptions, and the payment process will allow you to better organize your budget.
Learn about our fleet management consulting and training services. Reduce costs and optimize fleet management activities. We electrify your fleet of vehicles. We carry out the electrification plan until its implementation, known as